Good evening, everyone, and welcome to EduTALK. EduTALK is a weekly virtual talk show created out of the need for a global learning community, focused on topics in education directly impact Caribbean nations and diaspora nationals working across the globe. EduTALK features teachers, principals, students, parents, administrators, business leaders, and dignitaries who share their expertise on critical topics facing education today with the common goal of moving education forward and our students upward. I am your host, I'm Dr. Dwayne Dyce and founder of Education Solutions International. And we also have on here our co-host, Dr. Megel Barker, who is the Chief Academic Officer of Education Solutions International. And we are going to go back and forth here this evening talking about two. We kind of merge the two topics together. We talk about school safety and the disciplinary policies as it relates to students in schools nowadays because of the current trends in education. Dr. Barker, how are you doing? This, by the way, it's a new month. So how are you doing?
Well, I suppose we can thank God that we wake up this morning. So each month represents just another beginning, another chance to look ahead, set some goals, and tick off a few achievements as we move forward. But
Yes, yes.
the topic, good day, good day, good day, good day, is good evening to
Mm-hmm.
our listeners. And a topic like this is um, it's quite popular right now in the news because we're seeing a lot of TikTok videos circulating where we see indiscipline and a direct affront to the professionals that are working in that space. So
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm sure a lot of people want to know how we are seeing this as people who are thinking and thought leaders on this. So
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah,
we share, we're not in public school really, no, where we are, but we share the same views because we work in public school in the past
yeah, yeah,
and we have seen it. We're in the current issues, keeping up, as you said, with TikTok videos and in the news, seeing what is happening in public schools, mostly in public schools that is happening. And I feel like there is this openness for because of the population of students who are in public school, they have the tendency to it's a diverse population of students coming from various backgrounds. And when we look at school safety, it's a big issue because of the different personalities in terms of our students coming into the school, and we are preparing them for sort of the same goal as every student, preparing them for life, preparing students to to reach a productive citizenship and citizenry development. So the goals are the same regardless of where you come from, but we're not getting the same reaction or participation from our students because they have various needs. And so we
yeah,
look
yeah.
at school safety and the disciplinary policies that
Sorry,
we have in school.
I hope I'm not. Is my son coming through?
Yes, you're perfect.
You hear? You hear? No, did you hear anything else?
No.
Okay, well, because I just did something and I wanted the sound
Oh, okay.
came through.
Yeah,
No,
you're.
I was looking for the video, one that I saw circulated on TikTok.
Hmm.
I wonder if it's worth us kind of seeing if we
Yeah,
can show it a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit, just to see a small part of it and maybe use it as a catalyst for the conversation.
Totally. Yeah, yeah.
It's one where a teacher was writing on the board and a student was erasing it as the teacher write.
Oh,
Are you
yes.
familiar with that one?
Yes,
So it
yes,
might
yes.
be a nice one to set and we can maybe talk about what the different participants are doing in there and maybe how we as educated professionals maybe could think about handling it before, after, and maybe
Mhm.
even during what's happening. I think
Yeah, yeah.
that'll give us a nice little piece to
Mhm.
talk about. Let me
Yes.
see. Let me see if I can put that up right away
Mhm.
so we
It's
can
a
talk.
good segue into this.
Yeah, it is. It is. I
Mhm.
think it will be.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I
Because
think this is it. So let me see if it's coming up. You see
yeah.
it?
Yes, yes.
So make we play it a little bit and see what happens, right? Is that
Yes.
okay?
Yeah, yeah, totally fine. Do you have the audio or you don't mind the audio?
All right. Did you see that one?
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. Let me stop share. So
That when I saw it, Dr. Barker, I was shocked. I thought somebody had put this together that it's not a reality. I thought it was, but when I watched it again and then I did a little bit of study on it, I'm like, this is real. This is happening in our school. And they
yeah,
actually said the
yeah.
name of the school in the cap
Yeah, I think the name of the school was geez,
yeah,
the name
it's
of the school
serious.
came up. I'll tell you.
Yeah, yeah,
Edwin Allen. I think it was Edwin Allen.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's
And
funny, I think yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I really want to know what escalated the problem to that level, where it
Yeah.
is because it's not a substitute teacher. It is a teacher that
No.
is
What do you think about the teacher's reaction?
I think that is in general, because I don't know what followed, what
Yeah.
carried on before and followed up to that point. But it's it's just like a nonchalant type of laissez-faire activity going on there. Like she's gonna continue until probably the time runs out. I'm not gonna report this. I'm gonna just try and write on the board. Nothing is gonna become of this. I feel like here we go again. This is another day, where I'm gonna
Yeah.
try to beat through this. I don't
But
think,
I suppose,
yeah,
I
go
mean,
on.
what could have happened for a teacher to reach that point?
At the beginning of the school year, roughly.
Well, yes, it's not even October yet when this happened, right?
Yeah. So I really don't know how how in the heavens it reached that point. And there is actually another part to that, with another guy. There's a male student too. And the reaction of the students, because the video really took you back. It seemed like the person who did it went back into the classroom. So you can see it's a lot of students. It's quite a few students
Yeah.
in there doing their thing, and nobody is saying, hey, stop, this is for learning, we need to get to a point where we can start learning something. It is
Yeah, yeah,
it's very taking it out of education to disruption. It's disruptive behavior, not doing anything to curb anything at all. But it also speaks to the wider uh, tolerance and acceptance of this, that maybe nothing is going to happen with this. It's
yeah,
another
yeah,
day of disruptive behavior. But I really would love for the teacher to say something, because you cannot
yeah,
stay there and not doing anything. Or apparently there wasn't any relationship developed between the teacher and the students, or
yeah,
good,
yeah,
like productive relationship developed among
yeah.
the students and the teacher. It
It
doesn't
is
seem.
there's a certain, as you said, the word nonchalance, there's a certain acceptance that I mean, first of all, I mean, there are some teachers who would react very, very there are many ways to react to this situation, right? One way you could be is nonchalant, as we saw,
Mhm,
uninterrupted with what I'm doing. I don't just do what you want to do. I'll do what I'm doing. I'm being paid
mhm,
to do my job, and I'm doing my job in the sense of what my job means to me.
mhm,
There's also the reaction where the teacher could have challenged the student, whether verbally to say,
mhm,
hey, this is not allowed. And perhaps that did happen. We don't know prior to the video being
mhm.
recorded. It's clear that someone has a mobile phone in the classroom and is
Yes.
recording it. And perhaps the student is doing this for show as well. And so, what am I going to do? Just record me. I want to be famous, right?
Mhm,
And that urge for fame could override any consequence that may follow after. For students, they might just do it.
mhm,
The other part to it could be the teacher could be seeing this as massive disrespect and react actually violently, push the
mhm.
child away,
Yeah.
and yeah, there are so many things and could lead to even
Mhm,
violent responses in the classroom. So what we don't know is whether the teacher played all of that through and say, you know what, maybe I just said this happen all the time, now waste my time. I just I go get on with my work, and if
mhm,
you want to rub it off, I'll write it again. I'll wait till you finish. Sometimes that's what some teachers have to do. But it really is a sign of an acceptance, isn't it? That
Yeah.
maybe there's not much I can do here. But I also, whether I don't know what happened before, but the teacher in some ways at least restrained herself, which is something that some people might not be able to do in that context. So
Yeah, yeah. It,
there's really
yeah.
another side to that in terms of,
Mhm.
you know,
Give it to her because I'm telling you, she really restrained herself really, really well. If that's the case, if that's the case that she's trying to do, because of the previous videos that happened with
yeah,
teacher retaliating or taking matters into their own hands and trying to discipline students, whether verbally or physically.
yeah,
They try,
yeah,
yeah. But I really appreciate that, Dr. Barker, because it goes into this idea of disciplinary policies in school
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
the safety of our school environment for both teachers
Yeah.
and students.
And
And
students, yeah.
yeah, and what it is, there are considerations in the classroom as well as what administrations are doing on their level to make sure that these things are not getting out of control, that the goal of an educational institution is being met. And every single day or every week, whenever they have their staff meeting or faculty meeting, what is being discussed in these meetings? It is to
Yeah,
reprimand teachers or finding strategies to deal with these types of behavior as seen in the video. You know, are you supporting teachers, or are you or even finding the right minds or the right personalities to deal with the type of students that is coming from various communities. And
yeah, yeah,
I'm not saying these students as in a form of like looking at them and us, but to look at the different personalities that are coming from various
yeah,
communities coming into the school and how you treat them. You know?
yeah. I mean, another part to it is to really go back into our schooling days, because
Mhm.
people are always treating these incidents as if something new is happening in the
Yes,
Jamaican
yes.
context. And it, in many ways, create this idea that things are changing.
Hmm.
But I remember going to school and know of personally observing, seeing, hearing from firsthand from people where
Hmm.
students have disrespected teachers, draped up teachers, as they would say.
Yeah, yeah.
I know a student even in my school time threw a stone inside of the staff room. These are incidents, students
Hmm.
getting killed at school over fighting, teachers being attacked, security guards being attacked. So
Hmm.
the problem I have sometimes with the discourse is how it contextualizes into a very short moment in order to create a headline, a kind of urgent response.
Yes.
And I think it allows us to, it forces us to think in a very short term way rather than accept that there might be endemic problems in what is in the system that creates this kind of response within our societies. No,
Mhm.
just I don't want to think of this only as a Jamaican issue. I mean, I work in the
No.
British and
Yeah.
people who work in the US system will tell you
Hmm.
that
Yeah, me
schools,
too.
many schools, many,
Mhm.
many schools have police officers
Yeah.
stationed at the school to search, and kids have to walk through metal detectors.
Hmm.
And teachers sometimes have to be escorted home
Hmm.
and fearful for their lives. This is not a, it's not, it's not a Jamaican issue. But for us
Hmm.
as Jamaicans, we don't want this to be an issue. That's
Yeah.
all. But we need to be
Yes.
always aware that safety in schools and students disrespecting teachers shall not be treated in the way that sometimes people talk about, like, what happened, man? It's a reality of the world. And
Hmm.
we throw in the dimension of being famous for doing the wrong thing through TikTok and Instagram and through Facebook and all these things. And many, many students measure the consequences of being in trouble at school and the consequence of apparent fame, whether infamy or fame,
Hmm.
and say, I'll go for it. So I'll disrespect someone, I'll push someone, I'll have a fight with someone.
Hmm.
Just video me. Watch what me I going to do now, kind of vibe. And just make
Yeah.
sure you video it. So we're how how do we
Yeah.
address this new variable in the
Yeah.
midst?
Yeah.
Because the others were there before, but this one is really one that I see. Because you cannot catch that moment without someone say, watch what me I going to do.
Hmm.
Because in most schools, mobile phones are not allowed.
Hmm.
That's what I know. A
Yeah.
recording of people in a classroom is not allowed. So it's a real contextual piece.
It
So
is,
for a
yeah.
child to get up and go onto the board and rubbing off the board while the teacher is there, must have said to a friend, watch me, just
Mm-hmm.
video me, I go there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, we really need to look
Something.
at our policies, as you say, how do we
Yeah.
address this new dimension?
And the cell phones too. Not no, I'm just saying the cell phones capturing it too, because the cell phone is not the cause of the problem. But
Yeah,
capturing that, is to say, do you really want cell phones in the school among students being out and about during instructional time? Or and then the other side of it is what do you do in terms of cell phone policy? What do you do about cell phone policy? But also what approach do you take when students show the tendency of becoming like that, becoming
yeah,
disrespectful? What sort of approach do you take? And sorry, there is another part to what you were saying that is not a Jamaican issue. When I was working in Florida, I remember in a middle school in Florida, the resource officer, because they had resource officers in school, they still have them there. Um, the resource officer by February arrested about 40 something students. Arrested them, 40 something students of a population of about 600 in the middle school. And he said to me, I said, wow, what's going on? Took another one out. And he said, yeah, I had to because they're breaking things. They're breaking into the classroom. They're damaging students and property and so on. And these are violent acts among students. And he said, I don't know what else to do. We try everything. And they had to go because this is danger to fellow students and teachers. And he said there need to be some community-based programs in the school to deal with these students. So in New York, so that is one case in Florida. In New York is the same problem. In DC, where I work for a couple of years, is the same problem. Teachers they have to be protected like certain times in the evening.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have to leave the
yeah.
school. You cannot stay there for certain activities. You have to leave the school because of the
The
tendency
violence and potential for violence,
potential violence. Yeah. So
especially when consequences are meted out to particular students who feel that the rule should not be applied to
yep.
them in that
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
But in the context of Jamaica,
Yeah.
just to follow that story, what I do know is that I've read somewhere where the principal has
Mhm.
said that there will be consequences
Mhm.
for the student, and so that's how I knew it was Edwin Allen.
Okay.
And Edwin Allen is not even a school that you would say it's a school that doesn't have, it's not a school without pride, a school without achievement, a school without pedigree in that sense.
Mhm.
So it makes you wonder, a lot about what's going on, and is it social media that is
Mhm.
pushing these snippets that
Mhm.
we see,
Mhm.
or whether that snippet represents the iceberg on top of a massive problem,
Mhm. You're right.
or is it
Right.
just that
Right.
we're getting what you call picked out moments where people push out onto social media and people share and reshare and
Mhm.
retweet, and it
Mhm.
becomes there is that. I mean, I have friends in the classroom who will tell me that this is not all, and this represents not only safety but other issues. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
a few years ago, we saw a video of a teacher sitting at a desk and telling the students that she would kill them. I don't know if you remember that one.
I
Yeah,
remember. Yes.
yeah, and all of that. So, and there are many other incidences,
Mhm.
where students speak in certain ways to staff
Mhm.
members, as well as teachers
Yeah.
responding. So,
Mhm. So
social
there is
media has
no,
brought us into that
yeah,
space. Yeah,
Miguel, there's no restraint. Like when we were going to school, there was a slight restraint in students, how they respond to teachers. They might disrespect them sometimes, but you can feel the little restraint in them being
yeah.
disrespectful. But no, it's like wherever it
Free for
happens,
all.
yeah, it's free for all. It's like letting loose. And so we're gonna get to there because there's some things that we can suggest, as maybe suggested solutions. And so but the idea is to find out what is it that that students feel so free, basically, without restraint, unrestrained when they respond. Yeah,
Emboldened.
emboldened when they're responding to teachers this way or administrators or even their parents. What caused them to be in this way? Because a lot of these teachers are not disrespectful to them. They are not
Yeah,
starting out. So like, we can tackle it that way. One of the areas that I really want us to dwell on for maybe 30 seconds is the orientation period, because this is the beginning of the year. What sort of strategies and procedures and content you impart on students during orientation for them, and then keep it up for about 4 weeks for students to say, hey, we mean business in the school. This is serious. The school is serious.
yeah. I mean, well, I'm always cautious about speaking about what
Yeah.
happens in schools in general, given that the leadership in schools might be very different, you know.
Yes, yes.
I mean, we have met some real school leaders in the Jamaican system who,
Yeah.
when we interview them and speak with them, we hear
Mm-hmm.
them speak a language and speak of a philosophy that is in concert with what we believe school leadership should look like.
Mm-hmm.
But so we have to be mindful at times in this discussion that there might be school leaders who are, let's say, bucking the trend, doing their own thing, leading in the way that school leadership is. The question mark really is whether that is just, the few leaders that are doing it, and whether this is a response to some strategy that the ministry has put in place and everyone is leading in the right way or all leading in the wrong way because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know this solution right away, but we certainly know that schools are a microcosm of society,
Mm-hmm.
and what we see in the society is a high crime rate
Mm-hmm.
and high illiteracy rate
Mm-hmm.
and low. I mean, I know that the government has said they have low unemployment, but what we do have is maybe, if not, if even if it's high employment rate, people employed a lot of times in roles that maybe are not um, allowing them to live. I mean, a livable wage.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yes.
employed, but they might not be living a life of dignity in
Mm-hmm.
that job. And so, whether we are presenting enough examples to students that school is a way out, whether we are presenting enough examples that teach students feel that they can change their lives through acquiring an education, is something difficult to see. But we do know that in societies, they do see people,
Yes.
tokenistic, the one person who
Mm-hmm.
might have gone to a life of crime, where crime actually paid.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they died in the pursuit of crime, they are martyred and deified through
Mm-hmm.
that. Out of
Mm-hmm.
the end of it, people drinking to them, flying up to the heavens and then going away in big coffins and all of that. So
Mm-hmm.
the society doesn't vilify these people. So students, young people may not see a life of crime as something to be avoided. It's something to be
Yeah.
enjoyed until your time up,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
That's true.
Real challenges,
It's
real
real.
challenges.
Yeah, yeah, it's very
And
true.
um, you
Yeah.
know,
You brought up
so
some really, really, really good points here. And the school system can explore them. Very good points. So we look at we can suggest that they start looking at probably adding policies if there's no policy,
yeah,
adding policies to deal with the current issues of indiscipline and violence in the school. And then, as you mentioned too, which is with backbone to what I always talk about, is community involvement in the school.
yeah,
Finding those areas that are doing well and pull them into the school, and finding areas in the school that you can find partnership and linkage to the community that will support educational growth. Because you cannot take the school and void it of the society that it's
you
in.
can't take it out. You can't. It's the heart of the society. So if you take it
Yeah.
out of society, there's non-exist. And if you take society out of it, then it's just a heart on a table. It
Mm-hmm.
needs something. It needs to be driving something and
Yeah.
circulating those important values and attitudes and knowledge and skills and mores. Those
Mm-hmm.
have to be what school does because it is the only vehicle. You have to remember kids spend about at least
Yeah.
60% of their time in
Yeah.
the confines of a school. They wake up, in fact, maybe about 80% of the time that they're actually awake is spent in schools if we take
Mm-hmm.
weekends out of it.
Yeah.
And so what you have is really a place that can shape society. But to what extent
To what
do we
extent?
see and believe that? Do we see and believe that, and really ensure, that school can have that impact in
Mhm.
students' lives.
Yeah, so I don't believe whatever measures the teacher or principal might take in the school, I don't believe that suspending students alone is going to work. And
No,
arresting
no,
them, it's not going to
or
work.
even arresting them or
Yeah, it's
excluding
not.
them.
Yeah,
I
or
mean,
excluding them.
I work in I was in the UK system for a while, the UK national education system for a while, and
Yeah.
eventually that was the way that schools tend to deal with it. They call them permanent exclusions,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually the government had to come with another solution because there
Mm-hmm.
was a direct track from being permanently excluded to prison.
To prison.
You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pretty much if you start
Yeah.
to permanently exclude a child, he's just
Mm-hmm.
gonna farm. He or she's gonna join the wrong thing, either teenage pregnancy, a life
Yes.
of drugs or crime,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and eventually. So what these governments did were creating what they call pupil referral units (PRUs),
Mm-hmm.
which was where you would send those students
Mm-hmm.
to go and they would work. Students who found it, the term was alternative provisions.
Yes.
So there was an opportunity for them to gain qualifications outside of mainstream education where they had
Mm-hmm.
failed to
Mm-hmm.
find success, so to speak. So they did do that. But the question is, as we see it now in the media, it seems as if the perversion is far more than just a student here, a student there. It's more like a student everywhere.
Yes.
And and so you talk about policies. I think most schools will point you to a policy. It's whether that policy is actionable,
Yes.
and whether when teachers and leaders take action, whether
Yeah.
that will be supported by the community. I
Yes.
mean, give an example. We know many times we see roadblock in Jamaica. Half the time it is some known criminal that has been, let's say, even through extrajudicial killing by the
Mm-hmm.
police. I mean, we can accept that.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah.
accept that, at least can say that we know sometimes the police do. We know the police sometimes
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
actually don't follow the procedure and they end up taking people's life. But 9 times out of 10, these people that we know that are, let's say, executed in that way are not necessarily law-abiding citizens, but people who
Yes.
are willing in the community to come out and block the road and say the police do this and so on. So you end up with this issue of the policy and the support for the
Mm-hmm.
policy in action. When
Yeah.
things are happening, people
Mm-hmm.
do respond sometimes negatively if a popular person has been found to be in a situation that the Jamaican kind of approach sometimes. And maybe I don't want to specific,
Yeah. Yeah.
like but the truth is, I know that this happens from time to time.
Yeah.
It's just a real difficulty, my friend. It's a real
And
difficulty because teachers
yeah.
go to work and expect
Mm-hmm.
to be safe. They're not going to a war zone. Students, people send their kids to school and expect them to be safe. They're not sending them to a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I'm so sure
we
that
will have leaders, yeah.
yeah,
What the
some of
leaders
those
do.
students inside the classroom would never move or do anything or just, cheering them on. If you take those students or somebody walk in the classroom and say, hey, this is not cool, and sit them down and talk to them in a room and so on, a lot of them will change their behavior now because some of them just go in with the crowd. They just go in with
Yeah,
one or two students. I'm sure it's not the majority doing the bad. I am very sure it's not it.
yeah,
But so we talk about the measures that need to be in place, whether actionable measures, whether it be on the book or not on the book. We do need mentorship from the community. We need mentorship in the schools from the community. We need people from the school to reach out to the community for help. We need the school to find ways of implementing student-based social programs in the school,
yeah,
not just
yeah, yeah,
academic programs. We'll find some clubs and any other social enterprise to drop in that school so that students can become a part of it and talk to them very deeply about their inclusion and involvement in social discourse. They might come up
yeah,
with certain measures or involvement of students so that they can not just learn, basic academic procedures in the classrooms, but they
yeah,
become a part. whole and entire of the school and hold them accountable to take care
Yeah.
of those responsibilities in the school. Okay, the exclusion is not going to work. If you suspend them, it's not going to work. If you take
But
them
they just
out,
send them back into where they
and
want to go.
yeah, and it's creating another problem for the wider society instead of dealing with it. You know, one of the things that I looked on years ago is to say that the school, as the philosophy of the school, should be inclusive of what's happening in the um in the communities around the school, and the school must be a beacon of hope for the community.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't become a beacon of hope, then it's losing its purpose. It is like
Yeah.
salt, salt, and if you lose the salty taste, it's not salt
Yeah. Yeah.
anymore.
No,
So
no, not so.
yeah, might as well you tear it down and you create some community
I
centered.
mean, we have had many discussions about schools in
Hmm.
Jamaica. So where we know and that we have not really had significant reform in the system. It has still perpetuated many of the ideas that colonialism
Yes.
wanted. And so we're still doing it. People still are divided. People still are in better schools than others. And
Hmm.
in many ways, students are just reflecting that in the way that they view their school or view their society or view their roles in society as, emerging adults.
Hmm.
There's
Yes.
also a part of our system that adultifies kids,
Yes.
adultifies them. So we
Hmm.
view our students through the lens that they're adults.
Yes.
And, and in many ways, we ascribe many perceptions that we have of adults onto children who are still forming their views about how the world actually works.
Hmm.
And that adultification manifests itself through even sexual relationships,
Hmm.
but also how some people deal with kids that they would say, when I even get involved because them them connected certain way or I saw them people them in a gangs and there's
Yeah.
a lot of adultification. So
True.
so we really need to, as a country, begin to, and I don't want to put the teachers too much because I have a lot of friends in the classroom, but and it's
They're
more to do with
struggling.
school
Yeah.
leaders and the ministry taking a charge on this and providing legislation and the support for teachers to feel emboldened rather than
Yeah.
students feeling.
Mhm.
We
You
really
mentioned,
want the
yeah,
teachers.
support. Support is a big thing, Miguel. Honestly, they really need support, and you can see back to the video there. The teacher seemed like she really needs support. She really
I
needs
mean,
support to
come
deal with
on.
discipline.
Somebody
Yeah,
wiping off the board that you just right. I mean,
it's what it is.
it's what it
So
is. Yeah,
let's,
exactly.
yeah, we want to close. No,
Yeah.
but with the discussion, I hope everybody gets something from this. And I hope that by sharing, through between the two of us, that people can find, just pick one thing that you can take back to school with and see if you can, if that can help you. Whether it's, if you know somebody in the community that you can pull into the school and build a relationship, who know these students, who can help with mentorship, who can
Yeah.
help with even school leadership. If the principals who are listening and watching, if you know somebody or a company or companies, some enterprise out there that can help with mentoring or bringing in the social discourse or social programs in the school, you come in and partner with the principal or school leader or whoever you are, so that our schools can become a better experience for teachers and students. And these disciplinary measures, that they are very practical and they are very productive for building a citizenry of the country that is not
Yeah.
going to create another pipeline to prison.
Which is what schools can become, the pipeline to prison.
Hmm.
I'm also mindful, and this might take it a little bit left field. I was watching
Yeah,
your
yeah.
video the other day with Dr. Good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, whenever I have the time, I tend to try and listen back to the ones that
That will
I'm
be
not
possible.
present.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and just listening to his discussions around education law and the role of ethics in
Hmm.
that.
Yes.
And I know most of his context was in the US, but we really need to look in at how do we provide the legislative framework for our schools to respond to the changing dynamic, where social media is impacting that, where teachers' apathy might be an outcome of
Mm-hmm.
that, and what are we putting in place in terms of policy, not necessarily at school level, but at government level, so
Yeah.
that schools can write policies that make teachers have more teeth in the things that they are doing. At the moment, primarily, all our schools are run by the government of Jamaica. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
difficult for the government of Jamaica to handle this issue from Garden House
Mm-hmm.
or Church Street or Marisco Road, wherever we want to talk about. Very
Mm-hmm.
difficult
Mm-hmm.
because the issue with that is that you're trying to create policy for every single school, and most schools you'll find there's a diversity of
Mm-hmm.
contexts.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what we really need to start looking at as a country, if we want to respond to this, is to give more, to devolve more power to, if not schools, but at least school organizations, school regions, in order
Mm-hmm.
to handle the issues that arise in those areas. Because
Yeah.
when you have a context, for example, look at Montego Bay, where
Mm-hmm.
scamming was a major context, but it wasn't affecting the rest of the island. It was just
Mm-hmm.
a scamming issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But by and large, it would have impacted schools and teachers and lives and people's work and how they function.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in that context, you know, how does the government try to respond? Most times, no, they have no response because anything the government does will affect everyone,
Yeah.
and some people just aren't affected by it,
Mm-hmm.
or would have to change the way they function
Yeah.
because things are being changed in some ways. Whether the government says every school must have a security guard, or or
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
every child must be whatever. Now, when we begin to look at a devolved government structure. And I know people will tell me in the ministry that, oh, them have region, this and that, but there's no power in those
Mm-hmm.
regions.
There's
They're just
none. It's too
organized.
central.
It's still very central.
Yeah.
Every decision is still made on Maresca Road, US Circle,
Yes.
or, our garden house. What
Mm-hmm.
we don't have are decisions being made on the little streets where schools actually are, or within the parish, or even the
So,
county structures,
mm-hmm.
where most people understand the context. And I think crime is similarly affected by this
Yes. Yes.
centralization of
Yes.
power. You know, I have no doubt. And I think
Mm-hmm.
whenever we think about solving this problem, we have to go right back to the systems that we have
Mm-hmm.
in place, and
Yes.
not
Yeah.
thinking that, oh, we can just find a silver bullet.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we want. What we want is a reimagining,
Yes.
a full transformation of how education functions. And not only education, but governance. How is
Mm-hmm.
it functioning? And I think
Yeah.
that's where we are missing out, because even the best ideas won't get implemented properly
Yeah.
because it just don't work that
Yeah.
way. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. You have to kind of
Because they,
reimagine the whole thing, and you
yeah,
know,
you brought up a very good point here, Miguel. The to reform education is not, you're not reforming education alone. You're
yeah,
reforming the justice system. You're
yeah, all the
reforming the
systems.
healthcare system. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you touch education, you're gonna
yeah,
try
it don't work. It don't
modify
work no other way.
modify
Yeah,
the other ones
yeah,
to
yeah.
fit
You
it.
can't do it without consider an entire transformation. And when government, the problem that we have in Jamaica is that both governments approach governance in the same way. They have
Yes.
no other concept of how it
Yeah.
works except
Yes.
to do one thing harder, longer, faster, or more. This is how they view it. They wouldn't
Yes.
change how things really function. What they would do is just do more of one thing or less of one thing, but they are
True.
both doing the same thing.
Yes.
Or if they come
Mm,
in the Ministry of Education, okay, maybe I'll charge more for school fee, or not charging school fee, or
mm,
charging a lot of school fee. But there will be school fee. The concept of school fee still exists, meaning you either charge a fee or you don't, or it's high or it's low. You know what I mean? Or okay, we're gonna have school, either people stay longer in school or they leave
mm,
earlier. Or
mm.
so
It's the
certain
same.
things aren't really being considered in terms of
Mm,
really just. So the next government coming wouldn't go, you know what, we're going to transform the way how
mm,
um, taxpayers' money is spent on education. And
mm,
what we're looking at is devolving power
mm,
from Garden House, or
mm,
from Hero Circle,
mm,
or from Duke Street,
mm.
to,
And just
to the
empower
people
each
into
region.
this community, for example, to each parish capital,
Mm-hmm,
allowing the parish capital to function like a
mm-hmm.
parish capital where it can make
Yeah.
decision about which
Yeah.
roads need to be built.
Yes. Yes.
Because rather than which MP decide which road to be fixed because they have someone that was given to them
mm,
from Garden House, and then they come in. When
mm,
what we need is a lot more devolution of power.
mm,
Now,
mm,
why is that important? If the power is devolved, then a parish like say St. Mary can look at the
mm,
schools and
mm,
look at how schools function and whether we need what kind of systems do we need within St. Mary according to the law to
mm.
handle the issues that are happening in the schools.
Yes, yes.
And then another parish might look across and say,
Mm-hmm,
St. Mary doing a good job with their money.
mm-hmm,
We get the
mm-hmm,
same money, but we use it a different way. Maybe we need to learn from St. Mary.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, you know, they have direct contact with each region, and they have a regional director.
of
So
course they
they
do,
could
but no power
start
is
there.
there.
Yeah, no power
There's no
is
power
start
that's
there.
devolved. There's no
Yeah,
power.
yeah. I totally
You
agree
know,
with that.
what
Start
you
there.
have is you might have organizations, but you could have 25 arms in an organization. But if
Mm-hmm.
there's no power that is distributed in, then just imagine you having a power source connected to a system.
Mm-hmm.
If the power only go to the first bulb in the system, the rest of it now have no power. Simple. You
It's true.
understand? They're the first power there. So you need to have a system that distribute the power in such a way that each of them can contribute to the light in the system.
Yes,
Because
yes.
otherwise, what's going to happen is
Mm.
exactly what we see now. Everybody
Yeah,
got the government needs to do this, the government needs to do that. You know, hear nobody say the mayor needs to do this.
yes.
But every
Or the
parish have a mayor,
region, or the region.
or the region, or the leaders
Yeah,
within the region.
it's
And then
very true.
you look at crime, and
Mm-hmm.
crime is concentrated in certain parts
Mm-hmm.
of the country.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and if you check, you'll find that the areas where the crime is where the school behavior is still also
Mm-hmm.
everything is
But
connected.
yeah, yes,
So
yes.
we need to reimagine that if we're
Yeah.
talking about education and healthcare, and we need to look at the whole framework that we offer.
Mm-hmm.
And most countries are looking at devolving power and
Yeah.
let the role of the members of parliament become a lot less to do with giving people books
Mm-hmm.
and fixing road and more to legislative work and
Mm-hmm.
allowing the people who live within these parishes and these communities to make more decisions and decide where their income is spent.
Mm-hmm.
Simple.
True. It's very simple.
So it's the way it has to be. And right now, we're not talking about that at all. We're
Yeah.
talking about solving a problem with a kid who already do the wrong thing and may never do it again because the
Mm-hmm.
punishment is already there. We
True.
need
It's
to look
very
at
true. It's a
preemptive
wider
measures.
problem. It is a wider problem. It's a societal problem.
It
It's
is.
not a
It is.
school
But
problem.
it's systemic, man. All
Oh
right.
boy. Yeah, yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Barker. Really, really informative.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us with EduTalk. I really appreciate your views, and we're on every week Tuesday. We'll have a guest next week, but we always love to have these discourse between Dr. Barker and myself, or host of the EduTalk program. We'll see you next week. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, YouTube channel, Education Solutions International TV, or and Education Solutions International.org, our website. Please visit our website also to see how well we're doing. We're supporting students, educators,
Yeah.
and the school communities. And please subscribe to get ESI updates. Talk soon. See you next week. I have a little bit of chilliness in my throat.
What good them say.
Yeah, what good, everybody. Talk to you later. Take care. Bye bye.